A lot is changing. A lot is happening right now. See, good luck, Jolantan. I need something to just motivate me before we go to the Tinubu's first FEC meeting. You know, they don't hold the first Federal Executive Council meeting where Tinubu and the 45 or 46 thieves met in the room to discuss about Nigeria. What should we tell Nigerians? We are going to the part 2 of this broadcast. Money, the small motivation. Make this guy motivate all of us small. Oh, yeah, give us motivation.
Let me use this opportunity to advise us who are politicians and those of us who are in the security services that while we are doing the job we are meant to do, let us not, because the judiciary is very conservative, try to blackmail them or squeeze them. Sometimes when we have political powers, we get blinded. They say sometimes your wisdom is consumed with confidence. When we bear the big name, president, governor, all the speakers and so on, we become so blinded, especially even in the security services. When you're holding certain positions, become so blinded, but society is changing. And we must learn, we must admonish ourselves. And civil society is becoming very, very active. And certain things that probably we do and get away with it, we may not get away with it tomorrow. If we take laws into our hands and try to squeeze society, young people will react. It happens when I was a president in a sister country, Burkina Faso, where by their law, if the president is not there because they have no vice president, it's the speaker of the parliament that will take over the country and manage the country. The president wanted to amend the constitution so you go for a third tenure. And from the thinking of society, the parliament was compromised, so the speaker was to do it. The young people in Burkina Faso, the civil society, they mobilized and moved in to the parliament to kill the speaker. The security people couldn't defend it. The speaker has to run away. They burned down the parliament, the national parliament of that country. The mob moved into the state house to attack the president. The president defense squad that was even stronger than national army couldn't stop the mass movement. Otherwise, you kill everybody. The president has to run to Cote d'Ivoire. The country was in a quagmire. Their constitution said the president is not there, the speaker. Now the president ran away, the speaker ran away. Nobody to take over power. The military have to step in. So we, the politicians, and those of us who are holding sensitive security positions should know that society is changing so much and that we should do everything based on the rule of law.
Rule of law. Good luck, Egbere Jolantan, who has now become a motivational speaker. I mean, it's now like a peace convoy. Everywhere he goes, it's like peace man, peace man. He was also one of those who went on behind the scene to first congratulate Tinubu, mobilized other people from other African countries to kind of simmer things down. He was one of those who spoke to Peter Obi on, pursuing a legal review. He made him realize that if he was going to go for the legal whatever, he would need to go all org, like Atiku has been doing, all right? But if he has a change of mind and what have you, he can avoid all of that and get himself ready for another election from the reliable source. So they say, how did you know that, Mayegun? I feel lied to you. I don't feel lied to you. I don't feel lied for you. Well, it was kind of like that. And you saw the videos there and you saw the pictures at the time. But that's him now talking about when the people's movement to kind of sweep everybody away, even their most powerful military, powerful, most armed soldiers or defense or whatever, they will not be able to stop it. And I bet a lot of you are now kind of feeling like, one day, others are like, forget it, it no fit happen for Nigeria. It no fit happen for here, Baba. I think I want to believe like it's not going to happen in Nigeria like you. But there is other part of me that is saying that Nigeria is due for one. And is upon you already. Let them continue in this trajectory, by the way. So that is why Kolu had his first FEC meeting after the swearing for his 46 thieves called ministers. Then they had their first meeting today. Pablo ECOWAS and his 46 thieves. The intro, AIT, credit.
One after the other, the ministers arrived at the State House for the inaugural meeting of the Executive Council of the Federation. The new cabinet members were inaugurated on Monday last week after they were confirmed by the Senate chamber in line with its constitutional obligation. Minutes later, the president arrives at the council chambers. In his address, President Tinubu told members of his cabinet to support him in his quest to deliver on his electoral promises.
You and I know that, yes, the expectation is high, and there's a tough time right now. We must work hard, commit ourselves, and create a buoyant economy that will serve every Nigerian. We have unemployment that is a level that is not acceptable. We are threatened.
I don't think they've told him that they have changed the number. So how many of you remember that time when Kolu said he was going to create 50 million jobs? Recruit 50 million youth into the army. What they will eat? Cassava, agbado, and is grown here. You create demand and supply. Farmers will make money.
And we are competing with armed robbers and the bandits to recruit from the youths who are unemployed. 33% unemployed. Recruit 50 million youths into the army and the other thing. Take away from their recruitment source. What they will eat? Cassava, agbado, corn in the morning, yam in the afternoon. It's growing here. You create demand and consumption. For over 5 million army of boot camps. We create our food. That's money for the farmers. That's consumption for the soldiers and skill development. Don't call them illiterate. Don't talk about illiteracy. Anybody who can own gun, who can handle gun, who can cock gun and clean the chamber and cock and shoot is technically competent to repair a tractor in the farm.
So, finally, Kolu had his chance to brief his 46 thieves, his vision, his dream. Unfortunately, okay, I'm going to ask to make you watch this again because he actually briefed them. Sure, you know, for the record, I know some of you are like always feeling tortured, but let me promise you this, right? Don't expect anything sensible from his mouth, okay? Just consider this as listening to that, that old grandpa, that you can just listen for the sake of listening, of keeping its company. I know things are serious right now, okay? But I have to show you this. When Kolu was addressing his ministers, then I'm going to take you to when the ministers also started acting the role of cooking all of you, making you expect nonsense and all that. Anyway, here is Kalu, ladies and gentlemen. A quick one. Manuel Ferreira, thank you very much for that super chat, by the way. Very kind of you.
We have to make sure this country stay on the right path to succeed on behalf of over 200 million Nigerians. We have to. We willingly accepted the appointment. I accepted the mandate of the people. On behalf of delegated some of these powers to you to serve the country. You are a very lucky, respected few Nigerians among millions who enjoy the opportunity to show that Nigeria has what it takes to dig ourselves out of problems. We must find an homegrown re-engineering of our finances and manage our resources and let the economy.
Okay. Your comments are even more depressing because they feel like torture too. Reading all of you expressing how torturous or traumatic it is for you to just sit down there and be listening to him and all that. No, well, I've told you would have to kind of get used to it. Okay. I know some of you would prefer that I kind of pick up the sound bite from it and just join them together and show you that than waste your time listening to, to Kalu, the Bulaba, and Bala Blue. But that happened to be their first town hall, different from Blue, Bulaba, Bala Blue. Anyway, let's go listen to the aftermath then, where the supposed finance minister, Nigeria finance minister's first press briefing after the first FEC meeting today was for him to come and face the camera and lie to Nigerians. Baba, first day lies. Then they dropped the bombshell. They are going to create 50 million jobs for Nigerians. They didn't say how, but like Bokwari, they also told you that they will create 3 million jobs every year. They didn't ask Bokwari how. Those of us who asked that how were you going to create the 3 million jobs every year? Tell us. Some of the zombies born to suffer heads. Unity begging Nigerians. They said we were just enemy of progress. You wait for it. They can create 2 million jobs in oil and gas. They can create 1 million jobs in manufacturing. They can create 1 million jobs through tech. Now, so what people didn't know that time was that if you want to understand the kind of brain that is right there in the medulla oblongata, let's not mix them up, Abi. The brain is the medulla oblongata. Scientific name for brain is medulla oblongata. I've been inside brain, medulla oblongata day. You shall know oblongata that, Let me tell you something. When you become APC, supporter or member, the first induction that you get into is called, Baba, we are going to extract your brain. You won't need it because you are going to need to sublet that your brain and thinking faculty. Somebody else will be doing it for you. So your medulla oblongata are being in your brain to be an APC member, you don't need that. Because inside the APC, Baba, imagination won't finish everybody. It's like the moment you begin to believe anything said by APC, or you begin to believe in that one Nigeria lies, imagination could just sit you down. Imagination will come sit you down, come they play you scenario. Imagination will come they show you different scenario. And at the end of the day, now later you go no see more. Imagination won't kill me, my yegu. About Nigeria. Sorry. So when you join APC, or you give any tiny chance of believing anything they say, now imagination go kill you. Or will nearly kill you. I'm coming. So their finance minister came out and started answering questions from the media, and they were asking him too. They were, he was like, okay, yeah, tell us, this economy is very bad. They kind of agreed that Bokwari destroyed Nigeria, but they didn't mention his name. Okay, they said Nigeria is in a serious mess. They didn't want to say Nigeria is bankrupt. They didn't want to say that they are already printing money. This guy opened his mouth and told Nigerians in his first after FEC meeting speech that Nigeria will not borrow anything. You see that imagination? People where they use nearly 100% of their revenue to service debt. They've already lost over 60 to 70% of their source of revenue, tax, and even crude oil sale. So they want to build a Nigeria that is blah, 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 blah. And a lot of you are also sitting down there. They imagine. I can imagine what Nigeria will be in 6 months. Vivid imagination. Make imagination no finish you, my brother. Honestly. Vivid imagination. They want to build Nigeria. We are not going to borrow a kobo. Under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu, our economy is going to be blue ocean economy to green ocean sea economy. And all the nonsense they are spewing. But guess what? In a space of 2 months into real long, where is that update? I'll go read them to you. In a space of 2 months, this Tinubu's government, they have collected $800 million for the palliative they want to share to all of you. They haven't made up their mind. How many bag of rice? Imagine, population of the population of some states will be around 2 million. Then they send them 30,000 bag of rice for 2 million population. Anyway, $800 million. They've collected $500 million from the World Bank for women empowerment program to support women in Nigeria, to get them to begin to trade and do business and all of that. Empowerment, $500 million. If you are a woman or your mama did there beside you, ask her, is she aware of that $500 million? Now, loan, everything alone, not gift. These guys have already collected $750 million for the power improvement, power distribution, and making available prepaid meters for all of you. The one they couldn't do for 8 years under Isale Barack Obama. Fashola, remember, the Minister of Darkness. They don't collect $750 million in 2 months. Now, these guys have collected $3 billion, $3 billion, because they wanted to save the Naira. They don't want Naira to dollar to cross 1,000. Go to 1,500 Naira to $1. So to save that, they went to go and make a deal with Afrexim Bank, Africa Exit Exit Exim, Export and Import, Exim, Afrexim, Africa Exports and Import Bank, to go and collect $3 billion cash, and they are going to give them crude oil. All of this in the last 2 months alone. We don't know how much money they have printed already. But like I said, it's going to come to light. But this guy opened his mouth, this old man opened his mouth. And he said this.
As we said, led to an increase in the price level. That process takes time, and as it feeds through, prices will eventually fall. Inflation, as was happened everywhere else they have done this, inflation will eventually fall. But in the short term, the measure to provide funding to state governments was to put food on people's tables. As regards borrowing and debt service, I think those two can be taken together. Clearly, the federal government is not in a position to borrow at this time. Rather, the emphasis has to be on creating a stable macroeconomic environment, stable inflation, stable exchange rate, and an environment within which people can come and invest, and thereby increase production and further grow the economy, improve, create jobs, and reduce poverty. So the aim of all the reforms at this time is not to is to focus on what we call equity, to focus on investment, to attract investment by Nigerians, investment by foreign direct investors, and even investment by portfolio investors that want to invest in the financial aspects of the Nigerian economy, such as the stock market, such as the bond market. And so that is the plan. That is the expectation, and it is that there would not be a reliance on borrowing. Rather, as revenues increase, as the benefit of removing fuel subsidy and the subsidy on the exchange rate, as those mean more money for government at all levels, because of course, through oil revenue, the Federation earns dollars, and if those dollars are feeding through at, let's say, 700 or so, 750 or so naira to $1, as opposed to 460 where it was before, clearly that is repairing the finances of government at federal, state, and local government levels. So that's the plan.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Minister of Agri will respond to the question from Ruth Bloomberg on the commodity boards and other questions related to agriculture.
Thank you very much. Question has to do with setting up of commodity boards. Well, right now, you're aware that we have commodity exchanges. And I think what we need to do is look at how we can better improve the exchanges. There are opportunities to.
I don't want to bore you with that, okay? It's pretty much like, all jargons as well. All talks, no action. But you see that part of the financial minister, being a finance minister, is that man is also in charge of the economy of Nigeria. Did you hear him when he said that they are not planning to borrow, even though they have already borrowed nearly $6 billion? You heard me right. Nearly $6 billion they've borrowed already. Even there is another one I didn't have. Shebi, we were talking about the foreign reserve that got depleted. The one they used as collateral to borrow money. And now the balance in the foreign reserve of Nigeria dropped from 33 billion down to 3.7 billion. Shebi, you remember that one a few days ago? Right. This Tinubu and his central bank, they also withdrawn from that same foreign reserve. I don't know how they did it. That balance in the foreign reserve has dropped down to 2.2 or 2.3 billion right now. They've taken 440, that's 880. $880 million have been taken from the Nigerian foreign reserve in the this past month of July. I just thought I should mention that. A quick one. Olori, Charity, thank you very much, Ma, for that, your super chat and the message. The chat, every day of my life, I bleed for Nigerians. I tried to stop watching you, Mayegun. I wouldn't thank you for all you do. And God protection upon you and yours. Thank you, Ma. I mean, it is what it is, I would say. But it is always better to be in the know. Sometimes it's good to be know, especially in the case of Nigeria. Having the right information and knowing things has helped a lot of people. Not just how they deal with Nigeria, but how they themselves handle themselves when it comes to the issue of Nigeria. So that's why it is pretty much like fair enough to share, okay, where people share their own view and the rest of that. Okay, so thank you very much that you didn't stop, okay, and I've done my best as well to make sure I don't always make all of you feel so bad, like all that kind of depressing show. After watching my, you just feel so depressed, like, oh no, man, I don't want to watch this. I hope I'm doing my best to keep you off that, yeah? Information is live. Null J, thank you very much as well for your own super chat too. Very kind of you, all of you. Thank you. Now, if you are still here with me, especially on YouTube or Facebook, you should take a moment and like the broadcast. It's so important you do, right? Like the broadcast and then share it and all of that. So the finance minister who lied to you that they were waiting for the revenue to increase. They are not investing in Nigeria economy. They are not. They are not telling you the truth. I mean, if they really want to confess to all of you, or like they really love Nigeria, they want to do something, by now, there are members of Bukwari's government that should already have their names published as indicted people or listed to be indicted for what the economic terrorism they committed against Nigeria. These are the signs that will show to you that, number one, they want to come clean and they actually want to fix things. But you cannot pretend that those who looted Nigeria, those who mismanaged Nigeria, that never happened or they don't exist. And then you, from your own warped mind and fraudulent mind, you have developed another idea to create wealth. When all the money that you have been giving out, none of them has actually been, not a single penny has been dropped in manufacturing, in construction, and all this, none has been dropped because you don't have it. Nigeria has no money. So they are banking on, he says something about the crude oil. When they sell crude oil, they expect some dollars. That's not true. Before they came, the supposed money from Nigeria crude oil has been looted because the crude oil has been stolen. So Nigeria didn't make money from that. The little money that should come to Nigeria, they opened a door called subsidy. Subsidy to pay people that nobody knows. They can't even mention their names. They can't mention the companies. Companies that collected billions of dollars, trillions of naira. I'm talking about over 16, over 16 trillion naira in 8 years. They can't even mention their names. So they removed the subsidy, make all of you believe that that's it, they're not paying them anymore. Then they turned around to say, oh, we need to subsidize dollars, but they don't have it. They don't have enough. Their greed and their demand for dollars that are not really for business or for any productive anything, just for their own use, their family members abroad and the rest. These are what they use your dollars for. Anyone that they found in the kitty of Central Bank of Nigeria. So the money is not going into the hands of the right people that are going to turn the money over. I'm talking about businessmen, businesses. When you give them that money, they will turn it over. But no, they decided to go behind the scene, go and collect $3 billion cash from Afrexim Bank. Then they now subsidize the dollar. A dollar to a naira in Nigeria is over 900 naira to a dollar. But they decided to go and take dollars, subsidize it for their friends that will then bring in cheap oil. Sure, you know, to bring fuel to Nigeria, you need dollars, not naira. All the marketers, they need dollars. And which means for them to access that dollars, they need to approach the central bank. Central Bank of Nigeria is empty. They've emptied it. If you open anywhere in Central Bank of Nigeria, now hold naira notes, you go see there. And the colored ones they just made, that is creating confusion. There's no real money there anymore. So they don't have it. They have to go somewhere, to go and borrow the cash, put it in one colo, and they call their friends. Don't worry, you don't need to buy a dollar for 900. Come to the central bank, we'll give it to you for $400. We don't even need to pay back the people we borrowed the money from. Now, crude oil we go give them. So, oh yeah, come and take the dollar. So when the dollar finish, this finance minister that is not admitting to that on camera, he wasn't telling you the truth. He was telling you they've removed subsidy and they are saving money. Baba, in 2 months, they said they have saved over 1 trillion naira. Baba, where is that 1 trillion naira they saved? Have you know? Can't you ask them? Shouldn't the finance minister be telling you that we have 1 trillion naira saved already? And that 1 trillion naira is the money we should have paid for subsidy. No, we didn't. It's with us. It's a lie. They don't have it. The money they are sharing or the one they are giving them, 5 billion they want to give to the states to cushion the effect of palliative, the effect of subsidy removal. It's not money from saving money from subsidy. They borrowed the money, $800 million. They borrowed it. And that is the money they converted to your naira. That they are saying they want to give $5 billion and 5 billion naira to every state so that they can share the money. Use part of the money to buy you a bag of rice. And the rest of the money to share the money to all of you. 5 billion. That 5 billion is not coming from the savings of subsidy removal. I hope you know that. And from that 5 billion, Tinubu said they should give to every state, including Abuja. 2 billion. Now the money they say, yeah, dash them to 2 billion. 3 billion of that money, now loan, okay? Use 2 billion, buy rice, share the rice to fight poverty. The remaining 3 billion, we don't know how you go do them, whether you want to give them cash, whether you want to buy them more rice, it no concern also. But you go pay them back. We go deduct them from your allocation next month. So the state governors are collecting the money now. And they are redesigning how they want to spend it. No be me they wish I'm on you. I just wish you what you wish yourself. Sorry to those of you who actually stood up to stop all of this from the onset. Like, I don't even know how that is fear. But that is pretty much relative. If you are talking about Nigeria, where the sinners are being punished, even the righteous too go collect. That's what Nigeria has become. So the finance minister was lying. And there are other more lies that I don't know if you would like to listen to them just before we go to the next thing, right? Like this one.
He talked about how soon can the ministers live up to this billing and whether there's any time frame that Mr. President has given for the actualization of the programs and projects. The Honorable Minister of Health, Professor Ali Pate, will speak to that.
So let me just build on what the Honorable Minister of Trade and Investment had responded on the issue of jobs, to say that the healthcare value chain itself is an additional area where quality jobs, well-paying jobs can be created and is part of what we will be working on over time. The question that was asked by the gentleman from ITB in terms of running out of steam, I think Mr. President acknowledges that there are difficulties in the land at the moment. He's very aware of that, empathetic about that, and very committed to see that, in fact, there is succor. And in the crisis that we are facing, boldness will allow us to turn that crisis moment into an opportunity. And on day one, he took some bold steps that took several years without our country taking a similar step on subsidy and other issues. So that is one marker in terms of the bias of his administration towards action, towards bold action. And his track record, I think, speaks for itself. For this inaugural cabinet meeting, I think we are all gingered up and will start taking immediate steps to action the policy direction of the administration, so the Nigerians will start to feel the impact of the administration. I want to assure you that Nigerians will feel the impact of President Tinubu's administration very soon.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. To add to that, the issue of timelines, you don't measure performance easily that way by saying by tomorrow, day after tomorrow, you will see that. But what the Honorable Minister is trying to say is that already the ministers are gingered, they are roaring to work, and this impact, the impact of all these policies and programs of government will begin to be felt by Nigerians fairly quickly. I think that sufficiently answers your question. And I want to say that, gentlemen of the press, that as Mr. President has said repeatedly, he's going to be very transparent, he's going to be very accountable to Nigerians, and he's going to be as honest as possible to Nigerians. We know your responsibility within the Constitution and members of the Fourth Estate of the Realm. We expect that you show understanding to government.
Man, see there for jail. Politician way in the probe don't enter for power. EFCC chairman still there for jail. Politician way in the probe don't enter for power. EFCC chairman still there for jail. Politician way in the probe don't enter for power. EFCC chairman still there for jail. Politician way in the probe don't enter for power. If you do government work, you go carry am for head, you. Maka one day, I got Kwankwaso na my own. In another government, you hear why you one day more. One day, I got Kwankwaso na my own. EFCC chairman, no there for jail. Politician way man, still there for jail.
Politician where the probe don't enter for power. So yeah, they are going to create 50 million jobs. Like I said, if I play you all the videos there, you probably would have heard that, right? 50 million jobs. But when somebody said that, oh, you're giving a timeline and all that, was like, no, we don't want to give timeline. But the guy already said in 3 years they want to create 50 million jobs. And I bet it's just the Kolu's job that they're talking about. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is this part of this convo. Meanwhile, before I go to that, I am going to replay this Goodluck Jonathan's message again. And I want to, this time around, I want you to listen to it word for word to the end. Leave the man where they talk him if you don't like him. But pay attention to the word. I mean, his words. And look at Nigeria and the people he's talking to, including himself. One more time.
Let me use this opportunity to advise us who are politicians and those of us who are in the security services that while we are doing the job we are meant to do, let us not, because the judiciary is very conservative, try to blackmail them or squeeze them. Sometimes when we have political powers, we get blinded. They say sometimes your wisdom is consumed with confidence. When we bear the big name, president, governor, all the speakers and so on, we become so blinded, especially even in the security services. When you're holding certain positions, become so blinded, but society is changing. And we must learn, we must admonish ourselves. And civil society is becoming very, very active. And certain things that probably we do and get away with it, we may not get away with it tomorrow. If we take laws into our hands and try to squeeze society, young people will react. It happens when I was the president in a sister country, Burkina Faso, where by their law, if the president is not there because they have no vice president, it's the speaker of the parliament that will take over the country and manage the country. The president wanted to amend the constitution so you go for a third tenure. And from the thinking of society, the parliament was compromised, so the speaker was to do it. The young people in Burkina Faso The civil society, they mobilized and moved in to the parliament to kill the speaker. The security people couldn't defend it. The speaker has to run away. They burned down the parliament, the national parliament of that country. The mob moved into the state house to attack the president. The president defense squad that was even stronger than national army couldn't stop the mass movement. Otherwise, you kill everybody. The president has to run to Cote d'Ivoire. The country was in a quagmire. Their constitution said the president is not there, the speaker. Now the president ran away, the speaker ran away. Nobody to take over power. The military have to step in. So we, the politicians, and those of us who are holding sensitive security positions should know that society is changing so much and that we should do everything based on the rule of law.
Things are changing and very fast too. But if they don't believe, I have told you, I said, if Nigeria continues in this trajectory, there is no country that will survive this. I tell you, see, normally, the the backwardness, the ruins and destruction that Bokwari brought upon Nigeria in 8 years, normal, for countries to survive, you will need, you will need a break with at least real people, real reasonable people who can fix a country. But now you don't give Nigeria to Kolu. So if the trajectory continues, poverty increases, insecurity will increase, of course. Crime will increase. And all of us can see how long we can survive in the Banana Republic. But these guys are pretty much not showing any sign. They are not showing any sign that they are going to kind of a retreat. I'm talking about these criminals. APC, they will take us there. Like they will say, Bemi Debe. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part where we normally take calls. Okay? But we are not taking calls tonight. All right? I wish we can, right? But I'm having some guests that are going to join me in the next few minutes. Okay? For those of you who have been following Mayegun's Diary Politico, the activities of the Yoruba Union, and other people that we have been reaching out to give support and at the same time preach the message of Yoruba Nation as the priority should be priority of everyone that really cares for the future of their own generation unborn, not what these criminals are telling you. And over time, we have done a lot in touching people's lives, in crowdfunding some of our activities, and we have done excellently well. Thousands of people have come across us right there in Yoruba land as Yoruba Union. But you see, a few weeks ago, we came across, as one of our outing and crusade, right? We came across this young man from Ilorin. You know his story, Mr. Lukman. And we ended up having to take over his care. He lost his 2 legs, right? To what they believe was like, spiritual attack and the rest. However, to save his life, his second leg, which is already already dropped off. Very terrible story, right? So we have managed, okay, to take him through medical surgeries and then the recovery and the rest of that on this man. So he's going to join us tonight. You're going to hear from him. And this is a segment that is likely going to be just Yoruba. Reason is because I'm also having other members of the Yoruba Union who are also going to join. And this last segment is going to be dedicated to them. We are also going to raise funds in supporting the Yoruba Union and all our activities in Yoruba land. So thank you so much for at least being part of this tonight so far. I wish we could just go and take our course, but I have been shifting this for days now. We need to do it. So I'm going to go make myself another cup of tea. When I get back, it's not just going to be Mayegun. I'm going to have even Princess. I think Princess is also joining us as the Homeland, director or the president for the Yoruba Union, the woman that has been behind the new smiles you have seen on the faces of young and old across Yoruba land. So she's going to join us as well. But I'm going to go make myself a cup of tea So when I get, but meanwhile, if you have to leave, right, just like the broadcast before you go. And if you joined us midway, listen, you can actually watch this from the start. But if you love Mayegun and you actually support what I do, this is the moment I actually would love your support more than you can imagine when we are helping others, right? So to be part of this tonight, there is going to be a link in the comment section, okay? And as we are getting on with it, I'm going to be announcing every donation popping in. But like I said, I'm go make myself a cup of tea. And when I get back, right, we'll get onto that. Like I said, it's also going to be mostly in Yoruba. Sorry if you don't understand Yoruba, okay? And thank you, by the way. I will be back.